believe in the gun. And our players don't use it most days. They use it every day.
In my 20 years as head coach, I've used the gun every single year. Well, my dream as a coach that everybody would grow up with the gun, because getting all those reps would make my job a lot easier.
Hello, everyone. Tom McDonald, NABC Championship Webinar Series. I'd like to welcome you here for our last presentation of the day with Coach Baines from Elmhurst College. But before that, I'm going to just go through some thank yous. The entire NABC staff, Jim Haney, Reggie Mitten, Troy Hilton, they were in meetings today. So Troy's with us after a long day of meetings. And I'm sure he's looking forward to Coach Baines' presentation today. On the side of sponsor, the gun is making all this really happen. But some of the other people who are contributing things, Sideline Interactive is going to give away a sideline table, 8 feet, LED, free shipping, over $11,000 value. Craig Reed from KBA, all those coaches, like Coach Baines is stuck at home, and like the rest of us, they were giving out clipboards, marker boards, magnetic boards for all the coaches that are presenting. And then all of our board of directors have been absolutely unbelievable, just helping promoting these events. You know, they've been behind us. You know, Mike Bray was the past president. Jamie Dixon is our new president for this next year, and he was on yesterday. Mike Bray was on the first day. They have been nothing but supportive of the clinics that we did in the fall, and then the clinics we were going to have in the spring. And then also Troy put together an unbelievable clinic at the Final Four. So, and now what we've done is a couple things. I'll put on here. We were going to be in Chicago, and Coach Baines' players were going to be the demonstrators. Myrtle Beach, Springfield, Nashville, and Las Vegas, and they were awesome clinics. Championship Productions put on some virtual clinics that you can sign up for. If you go to their website, I think there's some coupons you can get it for an unbelievable low price. And then also I'll put on the screen in a couple minutes, you can get the 25% off any videos too. So with that, like I said, we've had some great speakers, and we're ending today with a really good one. He's done a great job at Elmhurst. It was interesting to talk to him off air. Jay Billis was our first speaker of this week, and he works his camp. So he can share some thoughts about that and what a great camp. And what I've heard is it is an unbelievable event in camp. This year, Coach Baines and his team at Elmhurst College were 25-5, 11-5 in the conference, 3 trips to the NCAA tournament, Illinois Basketball Coach Association Division III Coach of the Year, or co-coach of the year. First time in the school's history of making back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. Coach, is that back-to-back-to-back now?
No, it is not. That was a couple years ago, and then we just now got back into the tournament again.
So when did the season end for you?
We were in the Sweet 16. We were looking for a home game, and getting ready to play Pomona Pitzer out of California. So we'd won the first 2 games in the NCAA tournament, and like so many other teams, it got derailed. But we were in the Sweet 16 and playing pretty well. Congratulations
on that. He's also been a member of the NABC for 2 years. And with that, I do have one question, Coach. You were an assistant coach at Elmhurst before, and yes. I just wondered, and it's a great institution of learning and playing athletics. Could you talk about some of the people that have been instrumental in your background, from educators, high school coaches, teachers, mentors that have kind of put you on this path to be a very successful college coach, and then you can just go?
Okay. Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I played for an unbelievable high school coach, Illinois Hall of Fame high school coach named Cal Hubbard, and then I went and played in college and played for Coach Denny Bridges at Illinois Wesleyan, and he won over 800 games as a college coach. So I think I got a great background in my 8 years of playing, and then when I got out, I was 23 years old, and they hired me to be a head assistant at Elmhurst, and I was totally unqualified, but they were, I think, having trouble beating Illinois Wesleyan, so I got hired. And Mark Scheer was the head coach then, and I worked for him for 10 years. He was great. He taught me so much about the organization of college, because, you know, as a player, you don't know that stuff. You just think the coaches kind of sit in their office and draw plays. And he really taught me that part, and then got my first head job. And I'll be even honest with that. As a head coach, I took over at St. Francis for legendary coach Pat Sullivan, and he'd been there for 33 years. And he's been a great mentor to me. When I took the job, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, can you come in?" And actually, this year he came to one of our practices just to watch. And I said, "Tell me what I'm doing wrong." And he's such a nice guy; he never says anything too bad about you. But I said, I've been really, really fortunate to have some really good people around me, and I feel like that's kind of developed me as a coach.
Coach Sullivan has been a mentor to every coach. When I was at Drake University, he was, he's the best. Just a great human being.
He is. You know, I laughed when I took over. They put his, they turned it into the Pat Sullivan Center in big letters out front. And I said, no pressure. I said, hopefully I'll have a bathroom downstairs somewhere with my plaque on it or something. But he was a great person for me.
Troy, you got anything for Coach before we turn him loose on his offense?
Sorry, I was having a little trouble getting the mute button taken off. No, Coach, I appreciate you taking some time and spending with us and sharing a little bit of your wisdom. We look forward to hearing all about it.
Sure. Well, the topic was organizing an offensive attack, and for me, in 20 years of coaching, I feel like we've gone high-low, we've been run chin, we've run a hybrid of chin, we kind of run some 5-out stuff now. I've never really been personally stuck to a system. I think there's two types of coaches. There's the coach that has their system and they recruit to it, and that's what they do, and there's a lot of successful guys that have done that. Then there's the guys that I think just try to get good players and then try to tailor their system around that, and I think that's kind of what I've done and what our teams have done. Talking about this and organizing it, I will tell you, I'm not trying to reinvent everything. Every year is just a new year, and you're taking a look at what you have and your personnel, and you're trying to tailor it to them. And sometimes it works. Sometimes, like for example, this year we tried to run some LA action where we feed the post and you screen the elbow and very typical stuff. And we were awful at it. And so, a month in, we're just like, no, we're trying to put a circle through a square. And so we got rid of it. So, all this stuff is just trying to find the right pieces for your team. And this is kind of how we put it together. We talk about our 4 things as coaches when we sit down. We say there's emphasis, and then there's the skills, which is the fundamental work. There's concepts, which we don't really teach a lot of plays, but we do a lot of conceptual stuff. And then there's our terminology. And those are the 4 things that are kind of our baseline for organizing all this stuff. To start with our emphasis, we say 5 things. I think a lot of coaches are like this, but we say we're going to do 5 things well, and that's what we're sticking to. All of our drill work is going to go to that. And so for us this year, just for our personnel, we had transition. We want to be a better transition team, which we were. We got a lot of possessions, and we averaged about 83, so we got up and down. Our spacing and ball reversal was important to us. We wanted to be a physical offensive team, which you hear a lot of defensive teams want to be physical, but we wanted to make sure our screening was physical. We weren't getting pushed off our cuts, that we were really strong with the ball. We made an emphasis of that. One new one that we've incorporated and it really went well was we really wanted to be better 2-feet players. The pivoting, the jump stopping, a lot of that action we put in, and then offensive rebounding has always been a staple of ours. So those were our 5 things. And whenever we sit down as a staff, sometimes an assistant will say, "Coach, we need to get more post touches. We need to work through the post more." I say, "Okay, what are we throwing out?" "Well, what do you mean, what are we throwing out?" "Well, we only have so much time to do so many things well. If that's an emphasis, what are we going to throw out?" And probably 90% of the time it's like, well, okay, it's not that big a deal. And so then that's where we really know where we're coming from. And so that really sets us up for what we're working on in our skills. Now, you know, it's not just what you teach and what you put down on paper, it's how you teach it. And I told my assistants, I've had some really great interactions with Coach Mike Dunlap from previously from Loyal Marymount. He's awesome. And he's been at Jay Billis Camp when we've worked Billis Camp, and he spent some time with me. I've been really appreciative of it. And he took me aside one day, and I was working with some posts and working on some moves, and he said, you know, do you mind if I throw my 2 cents in? And I said, sure, come on, you know, let's do it. And he did the exact same thing I was doing with the players and the exact same move, but the way he did it was incredible. The breaking it down and the tell, then show, then them show, then adjust, and then rep. And then it was just the way he taught it was really great. And it just got me thinking a lot about how I can teach and be better at that stuff. And so that's how we kind of came up with that. So that's our emphasis. And so we don't do any drill that doesn't go to that offensively. That goes to that. And same thing with our defense. The next part of that then becomes our skill work. And then so all of our drill work comes just kind of show you some of the things that we work on skill wise. We do a lot of dribble handoffs in our offense. It's a 5-out type of attack. And so just we have to be able to do the dribble handoff and also the backdoor pass. And so we do some skill work. So just to kind of show, we'll have, just with our skill work, we'll just have some guys here and we'll have some guys here. And we got our coach, and we're just working a little bit on this dribble action and that backdoor. We're teaching that pass off of one hand. And so that's something when the high school kid comes in, a lot of times they tell them you got to have 2 hands, you got to make the pass. For us, that's too late. You're going to miss that pass. So it's dribble, and we're going to work on that with your left hand too. And the timing of that. We also, we like 2 feet finishes, so we're going to have that coach with the pad right there, hitting them and making them get a jump stop and make that finish. The other part of this is when we move these guys up, we now are working on our dribble handoff stuff. So now this ball comes here, and we're coming, and we're working on the dribble handoff, and if he's overplayed, the backdoor on that action. And there's some skills there that are a little bit unique for us. On the handoff, you know, now we really need to jump stop because you get a lot of moving screens now when you pitch it and you run into the guy, that old school. It used to be a good screen 20 years ago, and now it's an offensive foul. But we jump stop. The other part is we always, if we're not flipping it, if it's a tight handoff, we're always going hand on top, hand on bottom. And the reason we do that is so that the guy that's coming off the handoff never has to slow down. He can get into his guy and get physical, and he always knows that he can put his hands on the outside of the ball and it's going to get shoved right in his gut. Kind of like a quarterback hands off to a running back. He knows where his hands should go, and so we get really specific with that. So that's one of those skills that builds into our offense that we have to work on. And we start slow. It's not live. It's not competitive. We get it right, and there's a lot of slow skills, and then we start getting a little bit more competitive. I'll show you a little bit how we kind of incorporate that with a couple clips here. So this would be our dribble and our handoff here. You see how we come in here, here's your dribble handoff, and then here's our 2 feet finish right at the end, and we're coming. So if you go back on this is where this ends up being a flip, but we make sure we jump stop and we're coming off tight, and we don't get pushed off of that, and then we're turning that corner, and that's kind of where we're working on that with finish the pass. This would be another one where we're working on our backdoor pass right off the dribble, and we get that a lot. Now, one other thing as we start talking about this is the skill work is here, but you see whenever we start working on our 5-on-5 right here, this is Derek, he's keeping this weak side busy. And this is the next level of this stuff, but this is the beginning of this with the skill stuff. And the last possession we have here is just off a transition. Again, these aren't called plays. These are just what we're trying to work on here, and our guys get good at it, and we're dribbling at, and we're coming right there on that stuff. And so just a skill that we know that we have to have to operate. You know, another skill that we'd have, one thing that we're a big transition team, and we've really, like I said, wanted to become more of a 2-foot team. We started incorporating a workup drill with jump stopping and our transition that really worked for us and flowed into our offense really well. So I think a lot of teams, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the jump stop. I think the Villanova stuff and what they're doing, and a lot of other coaches are doing it. We'll start with just our just as kind of a warm up, and we call them our vitamins, just the things you do every day, or twice a week, 3 times a week. You're here, and we make this move where we dribble down and we come in, and we're making that move. It's a jump stop, and then we'll shoot a fadeaway. Then we do our pivoting work and all that stuff. I won't get into the details on that. That's not. I think there's a lot better stuff out there that will tell you how to with the jump stop things. We'll do this. This is more static. So they're just dribbling. This is more warm up. If you want to pick this up, you put a coach here, and now they pass it to the coach, and they're coming right up to the 3-point line. It's back, and then boom, they're making that move right off of a live speed. And then if you want to turn this into conditioning, you come up here, and you've got the coach, and you outlet it, and you're running, and you hit, and then boom, they're making it. So now it turns into full court, and you're working both sides. So that would be the first start of that is with that skill is the jump stop, just getting those moves. And our guys got a lot better at that this year. How that now translates into some live stuff so that you can get a little bit more competitive is we'll do one-on-one in transition. So we'll have a coach, and we'll have an offense, and we'll have a defense right here. And we'll play both sides, but we'll go on this side. So we hit here. This guy has to run on this side of the coach. You make this pass right here, and now it's one-on-one coming right here. And again, this is just coming down the lane, and now you're trying to get your body under control, and you're trying to make those moves right there. As we go, and we'll play that, let's say we play white is on offense for 2 minutes, and we're baby blue. Baby blue is on D for 2 minutes, and then we'll flip it. Our managers keep a score, and it's a good way to get some conditioning. It's a good way to work on your one-on-one moves, and then it's just a good 5-minute way to go. The guys like it. Now we have a 2-on-2. So we have 2 defenders and 2 offensive guys. This is where we incorporate our boomerang, which you see a lot now in the half court. But we hit this coach. These 2 defenders are running down. This offense gets this lead pass, and it goes. If they can score, they're going to try to score. But if they can't get it, it's boomerang back, and that's either a shot for a shooter or he's attacking right here and trying to get a paint touch in that situation. And so that lead up in that skill work really is our jump stop to 1-on-1 to 2-on-2. And like I said, we can do that in full court, and that kind of gets us going. I'll show you a little bit how that is translated for us in our offense. So this would be right off of the board. We're making that kick ahead, and now he's getting in the lane, and that's some really good early offense for us. See again here, we've got it. We're going to throw ahead and get in the lane. This one wasn't so much 2 feet, but we got under control and delivered a good look at it. This one is a little bit more slowed down, a delayed break, but you see here, and now this delayed break, we're trying to still get in that lane and trying to find it here. We make it good, and we make a good little extra pass on that. So those are just your throw aheads. Now this is more your boomerang. So we're trying to throw it ahead. Nothing's there. We go, and now we're making that move, and we finish in transition. One thing I will say on this is really great. If you can get your guards to buy into throwing the ball ahead, then telling them we're going to get a boomerang right back, it really will tell your guards that, give up that ball, throw it ahead, because you are going to get it back, and you're going to have a chance to break down your guy. And in addition to that, you can see the defense now, once you get it back, you're going to have some opportunities to go. So if you were playing a good gap team, that guy right here would be in this gap. But because you threw it ahead and threw it right back and you went, you can sometimes beat that gap. The other part of this, and this is something that we teach, there's a lot of different guys call it different things. There's a fat cut, a Corey cut, a gap cut, whatever you want to call it. If that's a shooter right here and you're playing against a gap team, this is a good kick. But if you've got guys on the floor that are average shooters, and they don't want to spot that up, start timing this gap cut so that you can cut right behind them. And this is something that we really do work on. This last one here, just another boomerang. You'll see we throw ahead, we try to attack. If we don't have anything, it's a kickback, and we have a good shooter there, and we knock down that shot. And so that would be some of the things that we're working on there with the skill work and how we build that up. So we have our emphasis. We know what we're trying to work on in that situation. And so now that goes to the third part, and this is the big thing for us, is our concepts. We don't run a lot of plays, where we just have detailed guys go things. We try to find 3, you can try 2 or 4, whatever it is that you want to do, but we try to find concepts that we can work on, that our guys can really recognize and understand what the defense is doing. And we work a lot of 3-on-3, 4-on-4 to work into our 5-on-5 with that. And I felt like it's really helped our guys. It's given them some creativity without losing all the structure. So one of our concepts is dribble handoffs. So we do a lot of dribble handoffs. You see a lot of it these days. And so when we go 3-on-3, we'll set this up. We're going to be like this, and we're going to do this quite a bit, okay? We're going to play, the women have this mark right there. We actually play, this is out of bounds right here. You have an offense in D, offense in D, an offense in D. Coach right here with the ball, and it's coming in, okay? So on our dribble handoff, we're going to hit, we're going to dive this guy, and he's coming over, and we're coming for this handoff. So that's the basic stuff on what we're doing with our dribble handoff. Now, I'll get this guy right here. This man is dove, and here's the ball, and here's this handoff, okay? So we go through in our 3-on-3 exactly what the defense is going to do, because we do it one way defensively, but you're going to find a lot of different ways. And so our goal is for our guys to not only understand what they should be doing, but then give us the ability that as a coach, we can make a 7-second saying and we can get something corrected. So we say, hey, they're going under that screen, stop short. That's it right there. And they understand what we're talking about. So we go through this with them in 3-on-3, 10 minutes at a time, half court. At first, we're going really slowly. Then we kind of work our way up. So just to kind of give you an idea, we say, okay, this guy's going under right here, and you're coming here. If you're a shooter, number one, we want to stop short and shoot that shot. But the big thing here is for our big that's bringing it to get inside the 3-point line. Because if he's out here and we kick it back, we're not going to get that shot. And so, excuse me, we've got to make that adjustment. Now, if this person comes and they bust through and they try to fight through that screen, number one, we're really trying to get physical is one of our emphasis, and trying to beat him there. If he cannot get it, we don't want him to go here because it deadens the play. We want him to go and wrap, and we want this guy that dove to fill back out. And so you get that action. Now, when we do start going 4-on-4, and you've got a guy here in the corner, this defender takes that guy a lot. You see this with the Denver Nuggets with Jokic. He makes that pass across the floor a lot on that wrap. So we've got to get them to wrap. They don't want to because it's a physical thing. You got to really get into your guy and turn the corner and wrap on that. The next part of this would be the switch. So he's coming, and now he's going, and there's your switch. Depending on your personnel, and this is why we play a lot of 3-on-3. If this guy can post, we just want this guy to pop, and we want to throw it right down to him. If it's not a post, we can go and we can tag screen that out. And so we're here, and we screen that, and we boom, boom, and we're trying to get that right down into the post in that action. So we run a 5-out, but there's a lot of times where we have guys interchangeably get into those positions. So we have the under, and then we have the bust through, and we have the switch. And then the last one is where we have what we call flat help. Some people will call it drop coverage. This man's defender is just staying right here. We're telling this guy, don't pick up your dribble right up here because you're wasting it. This guy's just going to sit. You got to get downhill and get into him so that we can roll and we can lift this guy back up. So those are the 4 areas that we're trying to teach in that situation, and we go through it. Now, the way we do that is we'll say early on, we're teaching it, and we'll say one defense. Okay, we're going to bust through on this. Defense, you can only bust through. And so let's say we're playing 6 minutes on the clock. It's really a slower drill because as coaches, we're trying to say, make sure you're wrapping, make sure you got your hands here, you're coming through. We don't coach the defense as much, depending on your coaching staffs and how big they are and how many guys you have on the floor. If you have enough, you say, hey, you know, Coach Gary, you're over on D. For us, it's just straight offense. Now you say, okay, 6 minutes gone. Today we're also going to get flat help. We don't do all 4 at the same time because that's just overloading the brain. So we're just kind of working that direction, and we're going getting reps. Once they start understanding that, then we start saying, hey, you can do any defense you want, but no switch. Then you can say you can switch everything. And so then it starts to build and build and build, and this is an accumulation over some time that you can start getting it. And so what the guys start doing is they start playing, and they start recognizing what they're doing. And again, we as coaches, once they now recognize the terminology and what's going on and what they should be doing, then we can make some corrections. Some things I'd say is vary the speed of the drill early on. In 10 minutes, you're not trying to get 50 reps. You're trying to get 20, 25 good ones, and where you're talking to them. Later on, when you're trying to make it competitive and you're playing a lot of 3-on-3, you can say, hey, we're speeding this up, and we're playing. We're playing competitive, make it, take it, that sort of thing. And then the other part of that would be just get interchangeable. You know, sometimes we always put that post guy on the top, and you say, you know, I want you in the corner. I want you to be the dive guy. And point guard, I want you to be on the top. You're the guy coming off this dribble handoff. And number one, it makes them better players, or a little bit more positionless. But then the other thing is sometimes as a coach, you kind of find, man, these guys this kind of works. This guy does this really well. And so I think that's where you can find that stuff out. Show a little film here of where we get our dribble handoff. And we have a 2-side and a 3-side, and we'll kind of see this. We'll walk through that. So here's your dribble handoff. This is a one where Derek's a good shooter. He's away off the line, but that we were still playing on our on the Division III line this year. But this is where Derek, if you go under, we told him to stop short, and we see Levon's right there on the 3-point line, and he knocks that down. So that's the first thing with going under. Now, you'll see here, we're coming down. We run a little action here. Now Derek gets pushed out, and so he wraps, and we get a good switch, and then we have that action right there. So go back and take a look at that. There's a couple of things to see here. So he comes down. He's pushing through. So we wrap it, and now the other part of this is over here on our weak side. When we start going 5-on-5, right now we're talking 3-on-3. We got to keep a weak side moving. But by Jonathan over here setting this flare screen, this allows us to throw over the top on this. We got the switch. They keep them busy, and we finish. This one here, run a little dribble handoff. We get stuck there, but now we pivot and we keep it moving on the weak side. And then we get our baseline drive and a cut. Okay. Going back on that, this is something that we work on again. Whenever we do a baseline drive, one of these two guys, one or two, is going to make a cut to the rim. And so that's going to really free some help. So this is, again, something that we've worked on and we've gotten. Come down here, another dribble handoff here. We're working that weak side, a shot that we do work on going to side. Again, this is going to be when we get to 5-on-5, how we tie you see right here, there's a back screen on the weak side just to keep us moving while we're working on our 3-on-3. So the 3-on-3 work is going to be our skill work, and now this is going to be our tying it all together. And this would be our last one here, coming off here, and you've got a 2-man side over on that side. We get some action. So again, if you see here, again, this back screen right here, while this 3-on-3 stuff is happening, is all part of us putting it together in the 5-on-5. But right now, we're talking about the concept of the dribble handoff, so that's kind of what we've got. Okay. So that would be kind of how we're working it up. Another concept we have a lot of on balls in our offense, and so for us, it's this year, it's been dribble handoff on ball, and we set kind of an open double, similar to what Davidson would do or whatever. And so, like I said, I go back to saying we're not reinventing anything here. We're just trying to piece it together and get the right skill work for our guys. When we do doubles, we do the same thing. And one thing I do want to show you before I get to the on ball is if you want to start turning this into full court. Okay, we talked about 2-on-2 right here. Okay, let's say you want to play 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 full court. Put your defenders right here, put a guy right here, and put an offense right here. We do this quite a bit. Now, if we want to work on our dribble handoff action, coach tosses it up, it's an outlet, and we throw it ahead. He tries to attack. If he can score, he can score. If he can boomerang it back and he can drive it, he can score. But now you've got these guys trailing. And now you swing it or you run flip action. And so we say, hey, we're going to be in our dribble handoff. So we threw it ahead. We boomeranged it. We hit. Now he dives. We dribble. And now you're playing 4-on-4 and you're playing full court. So now we'll put 10 minutes on the clock. White's on offense going this way. Baby's on offense going this way. If you've got less guys, you can play 4-on-4, and then the next group plays 3-on-3. Put a coach over here. Okay, so they have somebody they can swing to if they need to. And then this is how you get going down and back. Another way that you can get this kind of recognized in the concept is some warm-up stuff. We often warm up, sometimes there's 5-on-0, full court, that sort of thing, but you can also go 3 offensive guys, and you can say, we're going to run dribble handoff at the other end, and this time it's under. And so we're trying to not only get them warmed up physically, but warm up their brains. So now we toss it off, we break out, we throw it ahead, we got here, we boomerang it, we hit it, and now it turns into this action. Okay, just like we worked on in our 3-on-3. But now as the ball's coming off the rim and they're getting ready to outlet it, I'll yell under. And so now they have to process, okay, ball's going under, I got to get under the 3-point line, it's a kickback, and that's a 3. Or bust through, now he's got to wrap around. And so it starts to warm up their brain, and then it also starts to help them recognize what's going on in more of a live speed, but it's not competitive live type thing. So this is how you can take that 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 and not just make it a half-court situation. You can start making it a little bit more full court. So getting back to our on ball, another concept we have, we set it up the same way. Here's our out of bounds. When we go 3-on-3, we're here, and we're here. Coach throws the ball, this guy dives, he lifts, we hit, and we follow it up. Okay, very typical stuff that we do. So same way that we did when we worked on our dribble handoff, we have a guy here who a lot of times he can either run through or he can go here. So whenever we have this out of bounds here, we call this our 3 side because we have 3 guys here and he's going to stay. If he runs through, we'll tell our guys you're turning it into a 2 side. That's a little bit more detailed stuff. But right now we have this guy and he's going to stay here on the 3 side. So basically you've got here and you have your on ball. Now there's a 10 million ways to guard an on ball, and what we're trying to do is really simplify it for our players into some easy ways that we can coach it. And so we kind of just say there's 4 ways. There's a hard hedge, there's flat help, there's a ice, and there's a switch. There's other ways to do it. We know that there's different ways to switch. Texas Tech ices, but switches, there's other ways. But for us, we're just trying to simplify it for our guys. So for us, when we get to a hard hedge, and this guy is here, whether he goes under or he goes over, we're telling our guy, you can never refuse it on this. And this reason for us, it's just a thought for us. It really stalls our offense when he refuses it against a hedge. You have two options when you come off of here. You can either split it if you get the opportunity to do it. If he's here, you go out and you go out and around him. And when I say out and around him, we don't go out and around. We attack the top leg of that big defender. Usually it's a big. Usually they're slower. I'm 6'7". I was pretty slow. I would come right at my leg. And if they come right at your leg, you either have to open up and let them get that angle, or you're going to get the moving screen. You're going to get a foul because you're going right at that top leg. The only way he can get out of the way is to open up and let you get the corner. So we don't want you to get soft. And when we talk about physical offense, don't go all the way out and around and let him string you out. You go right at him and make him move. And so we have this action. Now, this is important. Number one, we're talking about the ball, but we're also talking about what these two guys are doing. And this is really important here for us. And they have to understand the situation. When you come off of here and you split this, now oftentimes this defender is the one that's going to help. If he lifts, he can't see him. So we need you to stay where you're at, and we need the screener to pop. However, if he comes out and around and gets the corner and gets this way, we need this guy to roll and we need to lift. And we call this a tag screen, because oftentimes this is a guy that's tagging the roll. We'll say set a tag screen. One little thing that we do on a tag screen, we don't really tell them to screen. We actually tell them to look for the ball and roll, because if you are looking for somebody, you get a ton of moving screens now. They just don't see them a lot. But if the ball is coming, if he's coming off and on ball and you're rolling and you're showing your hands and you find that defender, if they hit you, it's a foul on the defense because they're chucking the cutter. So the best way to set a good legal moving screen, look for the ball and try to get that catch on the roll and then run into him. And so you'll get that lift guy open. So it's very important for this guy in the corner to understand the difference between a split and this. The guard gets there in the same direction, but it's just a completely different coverage. So that would be our hedge. If you've got the switch and you're coming off, this a lot of times is your roll and you're looking in, much like we had on that one clip where this guy's lifting up and we're trying to feed that post because you get the switch on that stuff. Pretty simple stuff. We'll sometimes go screen. I know that coaches do that a lot, but for us, it's just keep it simple early. Set the screen, roll down. We got the switch. Whenever we come here now, and we've got this guy coming off, and now what we'd say, they flat help you, or some guys will call it drop coverage. The same thing as we had with the dribble handoff, is you can't pick up your dribble right here. You've got to continue to work this guy and get him down. We're going to roll you and we're going to lift you because that's going to be the pass. Now, one of our big skills, so this takes us back, we had concepts. Now, one of the skills we really have to work on with our guards is a pivot pass. You know, a lot of times guys get here and then they throw we don't mind a hook pass, but they throw this pass and it's down here, it's all over the place, and this guy doesn't get a clean look at a three. We have to get it 2 feet down. We need to pivot. We need to reach out and around or over the top and really deliver that ball. And so that's where our skill work early now translates to our concepts. So that when we get in here, like I said, with 7-second sayings, you get in there and you come off that and our guard throws a bad pass. So get your feet down and pivot pass. Boom, right there. He understands what he's talking about on that lift pass. The last one would be your ice. So you're here, the defender's on the high side, this guy's low, and you're going to be in that situation. one side note, we don't work on this in 3-on-3 as much because we're a team that ices. So when we're working on 3-on-3 stuff, we're really trying to do things that we don't do defensively, so that we get some work on it. Because you get plenty of work on ice when we go 5-on-5 and we're going against each other and that sort of thing. So we'll walk through this. They know what they're doing, but we also don't work on this in 3-on-3 as much. But when you're here, we will pop this guy. We can roll him, and we can make this pass here. But for early on, we pop him, and then this turns into dribble handoff if we're going this way. Okay. One thing I will say, it's being a coach that ices, it is really hard when you dribble handoff to get if they switch this, to get that iced. So if you ever really want to get this guy over the corner and you're going against ice, handing it off first is going to really help get that guy downhill before that happens. So that's how we would do that. Now, one other thing before we show a little film, let's say you've already done your 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, and you've walked through the reps, you're going slow. Now you want to get more guys involved. You want to get a lot of reps. One thing we'll do is we'll play 3-on-3. And then up here, these guys are waiting to get on, and over here, these guys are waiting to get on. We throw it to the coach. We dive, we hit. Here comes on ball. We play this side out. So this coach has got this guy going. Minute that play's over, these guys all step on, and now it's 3-on-3 on the other side of the court. So now you play 3-4 minutes, and you say, over here, whites are on offense this side, babies on offense this side. Buzzer goes, that's halftime, turn it around. Now you're flipping offense and defense. You've got all your coaches, you've got all your players, you've got everybody down on the same side. Now you can say, hey, everybody has to ice the ball screen. So now everybody's working on the same thing, and you're starting to get some recognition on that stuff as you go. And again, you can turn that full court and go with some of that stuff.
Coach, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
Is that okay? Sorry to interrupt.
Definitely.
Do you have a ball handler reverse pivot on the handoff?
A ball where he gets the handoff and then he stops and throws it back?
He's just saying, the question is, do you have the ball handler reverse pivot on the handoff?
On the handoff. So when we come off a dribble handoff, he can reverse pivot. So I get it, I grab it, I'm coming off of it, and now I get stopped. Yeah, we'll turn right back around, we'll get our feet down, and we'll reverse pivot so we can throw that back. Yeah.
On the emphasis section, Coach Baines discussed 5 things that they do constantly: transition, spacing, ball movement, physicality, and 2 feet playing. I was wondering what the 5th aspect was. I missed the 5th one.
Yeah, offensive rebounding. We're a big rebounding team. We'll either send 3 or 4 guys the offensive glass. And when I say that, part of it's offensive rebounding, and the other part is getting good floor balance on your offensive glass. That's part of that. And then I'll show you a little drill here that we do. We do 7-on-5 transition a lot. It's a defensive drill, but then it turns into offensive and it turns into rebounding. That's probably, if there's a drill, if you asked my alums what we do often, they'd say 7-on-5 transition. And so that would be a drill. I'll show that.
All right. Do you ever find that teaching your offense concepts with live defenders guarding is difficult, or different ways slows down or confuses your players in learning your defense or learning your offense? A whole bunch just came in. Sorry, hold on a second.
No. Yeah, I mean, the minute you put people live, that ball seems to just become like the steroid. So yeah, that's why I said, we'll do some 3-on-0 stuff. When we're going early, even if we're going live, we're not going to be trying to rep out that stuff. It's like, and I'm a pretty up-tempo guy at practice, but we're not trying to just rep. Now, once they understand what they're supposed to be doing, and that's where I said, if you stick with one defense and you just say, hey, it's make it, take it, everybody has to bust through a handoff. Well, then I think then they can say, okay, remember what we're saying. We only have 2 or 3 things that we're talking about here. Do that. And I think that kind of helps. And then as you start adding defenses, yeah, they're going to start losing a little bit, but I think that's also part of the maturation of an offense.
You talk about physical offense. What do you attribute to the fact that your kids are so physical on both ends of the ball? Is this through your drills, your personality, or just the type of players you recruit?
All of it. I mean, but you know, no, there's an emphasis there. I mean, I say this humbly. My teams have always really been good rebounding teams. It's always been one of our emphasis. And so I think if it's something you emphasize, and that's why I say keep it at 5, because, or whatever your number is, if you go higher than that, you start losing an emphasis. And so, you know, whenever our players, and I will say this, our players know what our fundamentals are. Those 5 things, we have them in the locker room. It's up there. You know, when we get to terminology, I give them a test. Like literally, there's a test, and we have like an open book. Like, do you know what to do whenever a guy raps, and you know, or when a guy busts through, and you know, that's the mental side of things. And it's not to flood their brain. Really, what it is so that whenever it goes live in 5-on-5, they're not thinking. You know, we're trying to do all this thinking in practice so that we can get to the game and they can just go.
Let's see. Oh, my fault. Let's see here. They come new ones in here. On drop, do you ever pop your big man or big who sets the screen?
On a
drop.
On a drop coverage, yeah, we will. On a drop coverage, if we have a guy that can shoot it, we'll do that. The other thing you can get on a drop coverage is if there's a guy down on the box who can post. And like, let's say you got a 3-man who's is a good poster, which we work on post moves with everybody. So now you come off of there. There's you know, what we're saying here is, here's the screen, here's your drop coverage, whether it's a handoff or on ball. And now if you've got a guy who can post, put him in there, and you can pop it back and you throw that thing back in there on that drop coverage. The thing that I found is you cannot just take one step inside of the 3-point line, and a lot of guards like to just pick up their dribble because this guy's standing here. You really have to get down to him, and then if you get him deeper, if this guy can shoot, then that's a great pop. If he can't shoot, the other thing you can do is you can hit him, and now you bring this guy off this dribble handoff because that man's defender's all the way down here. So you've strung him out, thrown it back, dribble at him, and now this is going to be a 2-on-1 situation.
Okay. It says, does your big man ever re-screen if they go under the ball screen?
You know what? I know a lot of coaches do that, and that's really effective. It goes with our general idea of, I won't say we never do it. It happens. We try not to do it a ton because we end up going back to the same side. And so part of our emphasis is ball reversal and spacing. So you come off and on ball, if you rescreen it and come back, for us, a lot of times we get stuck. And so I've just said, hey, I'm not going to make it a rule, but I'm going to tell you, let's try to get the ball the other side of the floor if we can.
I'm going to give you 2, and then you can go right to your video clips.
Sure.
What do you teach your offensive rebounders to do or go? Are there spots? And then the other one is the 5-man always run the rim line to post up, and then you can go do what you want to go.
Sure. We don't really rim run now. I mean, I know that we've had rim runners before in the full court. So I have to answer the second question first, I guess I'd say. We're really just running to our spot. So we're coming down this off of the glass. We're really just trying to fill these spots. And if you've got a guy that runs to the rim, we're fine. If he doesn't, then he gets out in that situation. Now, you can run traditional rim runner, 4 out, that sort of thing. That's just your choice. With the offensive rebounding, we do get technical. Now, I will tell you, as much as we're technical, it's just an emphasis and we're going at it. We say you must have 3 in the paint or 4 in the paint. So let's say you're sending 2 guys back. Our 3, 4s, and 5s always must be in the paint. And the reason we say in the paint is because it's easy on film to show. Shot goes up, 3-man standing here, and he's not going to the glass. You know, we're going to show you that. You must be going. We will teach we do a little, some stuff with, especially with our bigs, our swim, spin, and seal. So here's a coach, and here's an offense, and just a coach with the dummy pad or a player with a dummy pad. You toss it up, and he swims. So you're going to swim move over the top, and you're going to get to that offensive glass. Then we throw it up. Now it's a spin. So I'm going to hit, and I'm going to spin off of that guy, and I'm going to get to the offensive glass. If you're weak side, a lot of times the defender's here. Now the shot goes up. I'm going to seal, and we want to make sure that we're sealing with our butt and our feet and not our hands. So we're riding this guy out, and we're pushing him this direction so you can get that offensive glass. So that would be what we'd call a vitamin that we're trying to work on 2 or 3 times, and a couple times a week maybe. And it's really a 2-minute drill. I mean, it's just something when we do posts and perimeters, we'll say, a lot of guards down at that end, bigs, you're working on that kind of stuff. So hope that answers your question on rebounding. Here, just to show you some of the stuff with the on ball versus some coverages. Here it comes down. This isn't the best on ball screen. It didn't hit it very well, but you see it was against a switch. And so that's where we know it's a switch, and we come right back to it, and then we keep our flow moving, and then you've got a good player against the point guard. So again, I wish, if showing a film, I wish this on ball screen would have been better, but get that there. We jump stop there if we want it, but you see you get that switch in there. And so we got some guys, they recognize the switch, and then we keep it going. This is another one with that footwork there. We really worked hard with our guys with their 2 feet and that sort of thing. Here's your throw ahead, just go straight into our offense. There's your on ball. There's a switch, and they get hung up, and then we keep it flowing. Okay. You'll see that again from the top. So there's your switch. Our big right here now has a guard. They try to switch it back, but because they do, they get a little hung up, and that gives us a post feed. This would be one here where now you're going to see flat or drop coverage. So if this was a hedge, he would be right here, but right here he's in flat. This guy right here, this is where we all talk about a 2-man side and a 3-man side. If he goes out this direction, you're probably going to have a pop. If he comes this direction, this is a lift, and because this is flat help, we're telling this guard to get down into him, and we're rolling him, and a lot of times we have our weak side doing some action. Let's see that one again. He reads the flat, he keeps going, and we get a good lift on it. This would be that same play. Now he runs through. So there's your flat, and there's your pop. If you don't have that post that can shoot that, you can dribble back and get another handoff if you had it. Now this would be against some ice. So if you see here on this, once he gets it, this is ice coverage. So you have high defender, low man. The other thing you're going to see here is we cut, remember, same thing as we had with the baseline drive. If we see ice, we're always going to cut a guy from the weak side because it really screws up some ice. I see another ice play right here. So we get to it. You see they're icing, and we're going to pop, and then there's your gap cut. Okay, show that one again just to give you an idea. So there's your ice, you pop it, and you're cutting right behind it. Okay. So that can give you an idea. So to wrap kind of that side of things up, that's our conceptual work. So again, emphasis, and then the skill work that goes with it, and then the concepts and guys learning how to read that stuff, and it makes it easy for us to make the difference. I said I would talk about our 7-on-5 transition. This is a good drill, and this turns into an offensive drill in addition to defensive. We have 5 guys around the perimeter working on offensive rebounding. You have 5 guys boxing them out, and you have 2 guys in the corner. So you need 12 guys to run this drill. Coach calls it up, shoots it up. Now, before he shoots it up, he says, Mike and Billy, you guys are off. Now, if you get good at this, the coach doesn't even have to call it out. The guys in the corner will call it out. But it goes, we send 3 guys to the offensive glass, and we send 2 guys back, okay? That turns into an offensive rebounding drill. They get the rebound, and they score it. Plays over, 2 points on the board. We'll give an extra point for an offensive rebound, and do it again, set it up again. If baby, the X's get the board, those 2 guys step off, and these 2 guys are running. So now it becomes a defensive transition drill where you don't really know who you're matched up with because 2 new guys are coming on the floor. So that's your offensive rebounding, that's your defensive transition. Now, turn this into an offensive emphasis. We'll say make or miss, we get to go back. So we're here, and now we're coming back transition. On the make, you're taking it out. Here's the rule, because we're trying to get transition. 15-second shot clock coming back. So on the 15-second shot clock, we don't want guys just jacking up bad shots. So we're going to push it ahead. If you can get a great look at it, take it. You throw it ahead, take what you get. If it buzzes and we don't want to jack up a shot, we just hold on to it. Now, new 15 seconds on the clock, and you get it baseline out of bounds with 15 on the clock. And we play it that way. And so you're getting to work on your transition, and the guys are really pushing it ahead because they know they only have 15 seconds. Then you're also getting some work on your baseline out of bounds. If you want to get even trickier, which again, we run this drill a lot, we'll make 3 trips. So we'll do offensive board, make or miss coming back, make or miss coming back again, and that's how we work on some of that stuff. The other thing you can do to make it more offensive is you can say huddle one group and say every time you're make or miss, you're coming down, you're in dribble handoff action. Okay, so they have 15 seconds to get the ball off the floor and get right to dribble handoff, and that turns into your offensive stuff. So just to kind of get going here with to wrap up with terminology, this is our last part. We really make sure that all of our players and coaches are all using the exact same language. There's a lot of ways to call things in basketball. You know, some guys call it ice, some guys call it down. You know, offensively, a lot of different ways they can call cuts. We want one way, and that's the way we're going to do it. And again, I said, well, we'll test it. We'll make sure our guys know it. And I want to give you one example of why this is important. Our last concept for us this year was our open double. It's like I said, it's more of a Davidson double. So ball's here, and these guys are coming to set this double, and this guy's coming off of that screen, okay? He can do for us, we call it 5 things. He can straight cut, he can full curl, he can quick curl, he can burn, or he can set a back screen right here for this guy. So we want to make sure that everybody's using all that terminology whenever we've got that double. Now, you may say, what's the big deal? Well, you know what? Who cares? Okay, here's the difference between a quick curl and a full curl for us. This guy comes off of the screen and he curls it. Okay, I'll ask the guys, if he's not open, who's usually helping? Well, it's usually this top defender takes him. So the best thing for him to do is pop, and he's either got a shot or he can get the ball the other side, and we're playing 2-man game or whatever. If this guy quick curls, it's not the top guy that's going to help out on this. It's going to be the low defender here that's in good help position. So if that's the case, on a quick curl, we want to screen that guy down. So if our coaches just say, oh, hey, curl that cut, that doesn't help our players because they don't know they're not going to understand that. Full curls, we really want to pop. Quick curls, we really want to down screen and that sort of thing. So that's where the terminology really becomes important. I'll show you just real quickly some of our double action and the difference. I don't have a straight cut. I think most coaches or most players know a straight cut. Here would be a full curl. So there's your swing right out of transition, and we stick with that full curl. So now you'll see this next one. You'll see a quick curl. and that frees up a down screen. That for our player there. This one, it gets swung first, but now you see a burn, back door, and then there's your down screen, and we're playing out of that. Okay. Take that back, you'll see that burn right over here. So there's your double. You see right here, there's your back screen. This guy is not a great shooter for us, but he's decent, but he's looking for posts right to start with, but he will clear the paint. You'll see another burn here coming up. So there it is, burn. That opens up the down screen, and then we're playing two-man side over on that side. Okay, now we keep going. There's your dribble at, where we go back door on it. Keeps the ball moving. This would be one here. There's a back screen right there. So this is just, we don't call this play. We have a call for it if we want it, but this is just right out of the offense. Derek sets it. He's a good shooter, and it frees him up. Just to keep going, last thing is if there's anything personnel-wise, sometimes we've got our concepts. There's little things that you want to add. We don't add a lot of plays. We don't say, hey, we're going to put this play in so we can get a guy. We'll say, hey, we got a guy who really needs to get open to shoot, and he might need some help. Or post guy needs to get a post touch. So we'll call a little action. We'll, shooter. Hey, Derek, we're get into shooter. That just means Derek goes and sets a back screen out of our stuff. And so you'll kind of see that. This is how you can have a conceptual offense without just calling plays. So you'll see here, Derek is this guy right here. And this isn't even a great screen, but he's coming up to set. And that frees him up, and he can get a good look at it. Let's see another one here. Again, here he comes, and we said, hey, Derek, you set back screen because it's going to free. Now he gets somebody else freed up. And then this will lead into my last part of this is as we start going into some out of timeout things and that sort of thing. Now, if we're just saying, hey, we're running that little shooter stuff, Derek, you're going to set it. But on this one, they're switching this out. So this was just an out of a timeout some. So this was a little change up. We act like we're setting a back screen. It turns into an on ball, and we free him up. I'll show that one to you again. So again, this is nothing we worked on a ton. It was just something that we saw, and we were able to do it out of a timeout because of that. So again, I put all that together, a couple of little things, I call them kind of the sprinkles, and to wrap up, it's kind of the sprinkles on the cupcake. These are not the basis of our stuff, but some things that I wish when I was a younger coach, somebody would have told me, I liked what Gino Aramis said yesterday about just offense, defense. So much of film, everybody has these defensive game plans. I mean, think about all the time that goes into not very many people have a lot of offensive game plans, or they don't, it's not as detailed as the defensive a lot, and sometimes I fall into that too. I think you can have a great offensive game plan, and coaches need to start thinking about that, especially if you have your offense running. You can start looking at this stuff. Matchups, you should know who the bad defenders on the other team are on the bench and off, so that you can take advantage of them when they're there, especially against switching teams. If you're saying they switch and we're just going to run our stuff, you're not taking advantage of your personnel. You got to find a way for that. Fran Frischel was talking about the adjustments, and to the adjustments, there's plan B changes for us. I mean, we literally have it written down, trying to think to myself, if this doesn't work, what are we going to do? And if they adjust to it, what are we going to adjust to? And think about that stuff ahead of time. Same thing with out of timeouts. Brad Stevens gets a ton of credit. A lot of guys are great in out of timeouts. I laugh when we call a play, we draw something up in timeout and it works, and the guy's like, Coach, great job. That was smart. Like, it wasn't smart. I sat in my office and I wrote this down way ahead of time. So under pressure situations, it was already there. The other thing is, conference games. You're playing a team twice. Anticipate what they're going to do to you defensively. Especially if you beat them the first time around, they're going to make a change. Anticipate that. Now, you may be wrong, but at least you've got it in your head, and now you can make some adjustments. And so that's all game prep stuff. It has nothing to do with your day-to-day practice stuff. It's matchups and plan Bs and adjustments and all that other stuff. And then the last thing I'd say is don't be prideful. If there's something that works with another team and they're beating the other team with that, use it. And I don't mean for us, we don't put that play in. I'll just say, hey, that play they ran a little on ball action and they set some hammer screen over there. Well, we're gonna try to set an on ball over here, and I'll just say, Derek, you be the guy that sets that back screen over there. And so that's how we can conceptually put some of those plays in. But just some little things there. But that's the sprinkles. Emphasis, skill work, concepts, terminology, and I think you can organize your offensive attack.
Coach, we got a couple questions. Troy, I'll let you go first.
No, Coach, I was just going to ask, this is not on the X and O stuff. It was more like, we're in an emergency recruiting period. What have you done since you've been at home working to try to stay productive? Because normally this would be recruiting time. Are you Zooming with recruits or what?
Right now, I've got a 5- and 3-year-old running around, so that babysitting has been my major issue. I think I told the assistants the other day. I says, Coach K doing this, and we're running around. But a lot of virtual recruiting and a lot of virtual home visits. I will say this: if you haven't already gotten a relationship going with your recruits by now, then you were behind. And so a lot of the guys that we're talking to and still talking to, we've known for an awful long time. This is an offensive clinic. I will tell you, even more than all that stuff, I feel like I'm a really good relationship guy, and that's been the staple of our program. We talk a lot to each other and do a lot of things together. And so I feel like that groundwork was already laid. So I think right now it's just a matter of trying to finish it off. It's hard because you can't bring them to campus and really sit down with them. But there's also a lot of things, with player development, and they want to know how you're going to make them better. And it's all the same questions. It's just online, not in person.
Coach, I got 3 questions for you. Please review your open double Davidson 5 out again. Could you?
Okay, sure. Yeah. They do it. This is it's their offense, so they do it really, really well. It's just kind of a concept we did. Here's the ball, here's here, and then I guess just really simple layman's terms. Ball's here. When we go set this double, now there are some things here. This is not a go hit your man double right here. This is a spacing double. This is really, and there's a big difference there. We'll tell this guy, one of the teaching points is to go slow to fast. So we don't want him racing. What we really want to see, getting into detail, is you've got to fill these 3 spots when you're done. And otherwise, you're going to have bad spacing. So we're here, and you set it. On a straight cut, we need a diver, and then that guy stays. If this guy curls it, we can pop it. We're in these 3 spots. And again, there's some leeway here. This is where the 3-on-3 work, guys can play. If he quick curls, you can screen it and you can get wide. And you'd say, what if this is a non-shooter? Well, follow it up with an on-ball screen right here. Okay, so that's how you just tailor it to your personnel a little bit. Okay. You've got a back screen right here, and now you can screen that shooter out. And then the last thing was the burn, and you can screen this out here. You can also burn, pop, and now you're hitting, and that's 2-man game. And so without getting into the nuts, all the nuts and bolts, when this guy burns and you catch it and you hit, if he stays over here, it's a 3-man side. If he runs through, it's a 2-man side. And if it's
Coach, can you hold the board a little higher? There you go.
Yeah, sure. So for us, here's this guy turns it into a 2-man or 3-man. If he goes here, this is what we're working on 3-on-3 on the on-ball screen. If he decides to go here, we keep our spacing. Here's two-man game. And like I said, we will always send a guy on a cut here and not weak side. A lot of NBA teams do that. And so this is where the 3-on-3 turns into 4-on-4, turns into 5-on-5. If you can get this side of stuff working right, then you can work on your weak side. If you ask how you do that, put a coach on it. You got this side of the floor, you got that side of the floor. And so early on, you're just sitting, I've got a coach over here with the offense in here, and then maybe I'm doing defense or whatever it's going. And they're yelling, hey, two-man side. And we know that, and they're just reading what's going on here. If they're on three-man side, we'll have a call for a guy who cuts it. And so, say, hey, Tom, it's you. And he's the guy who cuts it. So again, it doesn't happen in a day, but it's the progression.
Last two questions, Coach. Can you ask Coach how he breaks down Davidson open or the open double in 3-on-3?
You do the same. You put a coach out there. So the guy swings it. So you're here and start the ball here. Here's the coach. Boom, boom, and you go. You play. You're playing that side of the court. So that would be the best way to start.
It says here, separate topic, but can Coach give us one of his best analogies that he uses with his team?
Best analogy. That's got to be one of my former players because I use them all the time. They say I'm a little corny with that kind of stuff, but I can tell a story. We had lost rebounding a couple games in a row. This is a while back, and I was a little pissed that we were losing rebounding because that's one of our things. And we were going to play Wheaton, and I made a big point of saying you got to be the hammer, not the nail. And we're getting beat up a little bit. And so we got on, this is a short trip. Wheaton's only about 20 minutes away from us. So we were at shuttles. And so I got about a dozen hammers, and we strung them up and we hung them from the top of the shuttle, and they all got in there and they all knew that I meant hammer and everything. And it was great until we started driving and they all started swinging around and guys started having to duck the hammers. So I had to pull over the side of the road and take the hammers off. But we did win rebounding, win the game on that one. But that was a bad analogy gone bad, I guess.
Coach, thanks for everything. Troy, anything before I just a couple of comments to end the day?
Nope, Coach, appreciate the time. It's been interesting.
Thank you guys for doing this, and this is awesome for coaches. I was telling my wife, I just want it's so great. It used to be that you'd have to travel to go to all the clinics, and you guys put on great clinics. You had to get all the videos, and you had to do all that. But what you're doing right now for young coaches especially is awesome, because if you can't get the tools right now with the clinics and the videos and the virtual stuff, you're not trying. You can really become a better coach quick.
Thanks, Coach. Good endorsement. Coach Jones tomorrow, Joe Jones from Boston University at 10 a.m. Central Time. Jim Boone, pack line, he's going to go for a long time. Dane Fisher from William & Mary. Steve Prohm, Iowa State. Rob Senderoff. He did an unbelievable job the other day. Didn't get through everything. He wants to come back tomorrow afternoon, and phenomenal. So everybody, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Get some rest.